Okay, thanks. Hi, my name is Sara Hernandez, and I work at a company called Comprend. And I don't work with marketing per se, but I work with digital corporate communication. So I have a little different perspective today than might some other people. First of all, do you recognize any of these people? Anyone? No one? You do? These are actually your employees. Or they're stock photos of your employees from some of your companies. So when you're talking about influencer marketing, you should, of course, start with the ones that are closest at hand, your employees. So how do you do this? Well, first of all, you have to have a culture. Is this working? You have to have a culture that allows people to engage, use social media, share. Of course, this is Google. You all know that these people live and breathe the brand Google. They're great ambassadors. But even in your own companies, you can look at how can we inspire a culture that's open and transparent. Because people aren't going to share content if they don't feel like they get respect back or they don't get information from you. So that's the first thing to think about. And then when you have all these people, you have a sharing culture and you have an open culture, but people still have to have the policies and the guidelines and also the training and to know what can I share, how can I behave on social media, and what am I allowed to say? And to remember that when it comes to policies, not just about you cannot do this, you cannot do that, but it's also about what do we encourage you to do. Does anybody know what this service is? Anyone recognize it? One people. Actually, this you should learn what this is because this service is coming to the Nordic region within a few months, I've heard. This is a site called Glassdoor, and people can go in here, employees can go in and rate and write reviews about the companies that they work in. This is quite common in the United States. A lot of people use this and say both good things and bad things. So my point here is that you have to be aware that there are already a lot of platforms where people are discussing what it's like to be an employee at your company. And not just on these kind of services, but of course on social media at large. And I'm not saying that you should go out and monitor your employees, but it's important to be out there and know what is being said and who is saying it. Okay, so you've done the basics, right? So you have an open culture, you have policies and guidelines for your employees. You know where they are, what they're saying. Now it's time to engage them. And we can say that you have, well, sort of two different groups of people. You have the ones that are the official spokespeople, and then they have the rest of the employees. And when it comes to the spokesperson, this can be either discovering the people that are already digital influencers, because I'm sure that you have them. You have all these people that are already blogging and sharing and being thought leaders, but maybe you're not taking care of them. Maybe you're not allowing them to communicate about your brand. But it can also be the case of someone like this. This is Arne på Posten. Does anybody recognize him? Yay! So this is a guy who's worked at the Swedish post office for several years. And well, they gave him a few lessons in Twitter management and how to use social media and how to create content. And now he's one of the most respected persons within the e-commerce business in Sweden. But then, of course, you also have to look at all the other employees and figure out how can we get them engaged, how can we get them to share content. And yeah, so find, train, and encourage your official spokespeople and engage the rest of the employees. And then Britt, she already said this, but you have to, of course, be aware of why do people share content. They're not just going to share something because your company puts it out there. People share content because it makes them feel smart, or because they have the opportunity to entertain someone. People like to help as well. Perhaps, let's say, they want to help their friends find a job. So that's something that you can tap into, for example, when you're working with employer branding and HR. And also to earn status and recognition, to nurture the relationships, take care of the networks, just like Britt said, and support causes. And a lot of other reasons as well. But basically, just create content that people want to share. So, in essence, make it easy for your employees. Make communication a priority within your company, because if your company isn't communicating, then why should they? And something as simple as just informing about your channels. I often get, I think it's a little bit weird sometimes when I meet companies and I know that they have 10,000 employees and then they have a Facebook page and they have 1,000 followers. Shouldn't those 10,000 employees, or at least 7,000 that I know have Facebook, be followers? Why wouldn't you follow your own company? So it's important to inform about the channels that you have. Perhaps create integrations with your intranet to make sure that people are really seeing what is being put out there. And encourage sharing in your culture. And that means both internally and externally. And of course, not just digital sharing, but the people should share knowledge and best practice and vacant jobs or whatever. So that's also important. Encourage use of social media as well. Don't, well, I think it was a very long time ago since I actually met a company that had restrictions. But encourage people to use social media, and especially LinkedIn, for instance, for professional purposes. And create content in various forms and various channels, because people share different types of information. Some people might want to share a video, some people might want to share an infographic or a tweet. But it's also good to have one main platform, so people know where to find everything. Yeah, and management should set a good example. I don't have this slide now. I used to have a slide that I've used for a lot of presentations for about a year and a half, because I was at Webbdagarna, and Jan Dinkenspiel from Nordnet, he was there, and I guess he was the CEO at the time, and he said it. He doesn't actually. He's not a big social media fan. He doesn't like to use it a lot for private purposes, but he said that he has forced himself to become an early adopter, because social media and digital communication, that's the future, and he wants to be a part of that development. So management should set a good example. Why would you share something if your CEO or your boss isn't sharing it? Yeah, and you can download the presentation here. Thanks.